Hello YouTube, GHQ Tie here, and another profile. Unfortunately, because I'm me, it's Star Dragon World. Obviously, nice flag. But new buddy, look, SD Jack SD. He's our new Jack form, but we'll get into that when we get into the deck proper. Again, new style. If you don't like it, tough, because sometimes I'm going to use it. To start with, we'll go into the zeros. So we have two of our Dragon Arms Garvalanka. This is your spell null of the deck. It's obviously a monster, so spell nulls can't spell null your spell null, which is good. So 1 gauge, 1 life, remove it from soul. Very good card. It helps you go for the win, and this is more of an aggro deck than previous. 1 M4YD1. We only play the one because, honestly, I can't find my other copies. And I don't know what I'd remove for it otherwise, because this deck works pretty well and you can toolbox it. So yeah, we've got 2 copies of Radiant Alma. Alma is obviously 2 crit, which is nice, very nice, and Alma allows you to double attack by paying a gauge on 6 life or less. So yeah, as you can tell, we don't want to stick around on high life. Controversial here, 2 strength. That plus 2k power and penetrate is very useful. The power more so in wool formats against, say, Prism Dragons than anything else, but the penetrate is useful against other war decks because, like Yamageddon's making a comeback, etc., etc. We have 2 copies of Charger. Charger is when it's put into the soul from the drop or the hand, or the field, you can draw a card by paying that gauge. So we want to see our items so we can just quickly go through, grab what we need, and go for the win. We have 2 Winger, or Winger, Vinger, however you meant to pronounce that. When it's removed from the soul, you gain 2 gauge, so gauge excel. Obviously, this is slightly more gauge intensive than it would have been, so that's why we play that. And again, it's a fantastic card. I mean, you Star Believer, remove the soul, gain a life, gain 2 gauge, draw 2. Very, very solid. Obviously, because I'm not Scrub, we play 4 of our buddy, which is SD Jack SD. It's damn good. Size 1 and Neo Dragon with Soul Guard. And you, on call, choose a Neo Dragon on the field, including itself, mill 3, and then choose one of those cards to put into the soul of a Neo Dragon on your field. So not only is it acceleration for your reverse toolboxing, but it's also a Jack name with Soul Guard that can stick around, so very solid. The ubiquitous 4 copies of Quantum Ruler. Quantum Ruler is your gauge and draw on a 4/1 body. Not amazing, but once per turn, gauge and draw, very useful. Full Liberate Jack at 4 copies, because it's 6/2/5, and that 6k power is relevant. You can also kill its soul to restand it, and again, aggro. And of course, as well as that, it gets top deck Soul Guard, which is very good. 2 copies of Galaxy Dragoner Jack, which is your reverse toolbox Jack, so when he comes into play, you get a monster from the drop and put it into his soul. He also has the counter ability to call a Jack on top of him from the drop, so you reverse toolbox and you just go for the win, essentially, with all the silly plays that you can do. And then obviously M4YD1 in soul, chuck some on top of that and just keep the attacks going. Because I can't see myself removing it because I love Asta, we have 2 copies of Asta. Secret Asta, because I don't need triple res because I have loads of Secret Asta because I love Jack. Asta is obviously the 6/3/6, and it has the remarkable ability of stopping your weapons from being destroyed, which is very good for linkage later on, as you'll see. And also, it can't be destroyed during the turn if you've got Soul in it. Speaking of Soul, is 2 copies of Soul Asta. You slap him on the side, same stats as OG Asta, and same cool cost conditions as well, so 1 gauge, and you can put him on top of a Jack. He's amazing purely in that you reduce damage by 2. So late game, slap him down, keep pummeling the opponent, and they're not dealing damage to you. That's the monsters. We'll jump quickly into the items. We play 3 copies of Linkage, which is the new weapon, which is a 3/2, 1 gauge, and you can rest it to stand a Jack. So yeah, keep the attacks going. Close center, sure. I'm still going to keep attacking you. And if open center, sure, you've got a 2-crit weapon. Very good weapon, and as I say, with OG Aster, it sticks around, and you just keep the attacks coming and coming and coming with M4YD1, Galaxy Dragoner, Full Liberate, etc., etc. We have 1 copy of the OG Dragon Force. OG Dragon Force is quadruple attack, obviously 6 life or less. But we play that because sometimes we just need to beat through walls in a turn. So the 1 copy of that, and we can search it. So that's fine. 1 Style of Justice, because we need this. Null the opponent's field. If there's a big wall we can't hit through because of soul, then very good. And 3-crit weapon is always nice. 6k power. 2 gauge, not so much, but it would be broken if it was 1 or less. 2, 3, and into spells. 4 copies of the new Nullify. I'm testing this over Mars Barrier, purely because I want to see how much longevity I can get from the deck, from switching from aggro to defensive playstyles. Docking is pay gauge, as long as you've got your open center, obviously. And you shove a soul from the drop into a monster on your field. It's very good, hence why I'm testing it over Mars Barrier, and it's any attack rather than just a non-link. More defensive cards. 2 copies of Jack History. Jack History is your +4/+4 slapback, as the guys over at Glasgow like to say. So very good, and you can shove it into the soul just to get extra soul. If you don't need, we have 2 copies of Jack Destruction. So you give yourself -1 life to destroy a monster that's destroyed one of your monsters and deal your opponent 1 damage, because, you know, that ping and that loss of a monster is solid. Then we have 2 copies this time, rather than the 3 or 4 we played last time. I don't remember, honestly. Of the Dragoner's Beat, which is your weapon searcher or give weapon more critical and more power, because we like to hurt things. This is why we get to play the 1-off Dragon Forces, but you could easily switch out these for a couple more Dragon Forces, or again, you could take out the linkages and make it a full-on Justice Form deck. Of course, these aren't pulling the weight as much as they could be, which is why I may take them out, possibly for more M4YD1s, but I'm not sure yet. 2 copies of the Starjet Repair. Obviously, you got a Jack on the field, you give it a soul, and you get a gauge, because useful things. And you get to pick it, so you can just go, okay, I'll get a gauge, I'll get Charger, so on and so forth. We have, coming to the end, 2 Star Believer, which is your kill a soul, draw 2, and gain a life. Very nice card, especially if you can combine it with Wyinger, whatever. But you do it with Charger and you draw 3 pretty much. Shove Charger in, draw 1, and then play that. Last, again, another controversial card. 2 Generators, which is obviously pay gauge. As long as you've got a monster with a decent soul stack, you make it stand up again and attack again. That has been the deck profile, though. Heavily inspired by the 2nd place guy from the last big tournament over here in the UK. I cannot remember your name, guy, sorry, but heavily inspired by him. But obviously, my own ideas on top of that. But check out his profile. If I can find it, I will link it in the description down below. But yes, happy gaming.